All right, guys, I've got something really special for you this week. I am going to show you how to take a bait that makes all kinds of noise to that right there. Silent. It can be a game changer. So one of the things, through my career that can be a game changer is getting your bait silent. And if you don't think it makes a difference, then think about when the square bill, the 1.5, the Lucky Craft came out. That thing was one of the first silent square bills ever made, and that thing took the country by storm. And I think a big part of that was because it was silent. Well, the same thing can be said for your deep diving crankbaits, but it's a challenge to make those things silent, because if you add too much weight to them, they'll sink. And you have to have your baits, they have those things weighted perfectly, because if you get too big of hooks on them, they start sinking. You want that bait to have a slow rise to it, or to be as it comes out of the package with that buoyancy as you possibly can, especially with the dredgers, because they've tested them so much to get the maximum depth out of them, added weights to them, etc. So with that said, I'm going to show you at Chickamauga. I had an awesome event there, and a big part of that was throwing some silent crankbaits over those fish that just hear a crankbait so often. Grand Lake's the same way, Lake of the Ozarks, anywhere we fish across the country that you can throw a deep diving plug. If you can change it up a bit and throw a silent one, have it as a backup to maybe one that makes noise, you can add a lot of fish to your arsenal, to your live well, to your score tracker by the end of the day. So I've got a lot of stuff here. Let's get started. So let's just start right here. I'm taking a dredger, 25.5 out of the package. Just one of my favorite colors. It'd be Chameleon Pearl, 25.5. And let's get this thing out of the package. All right. First thing you got to do, we got to get the hooks off. Okay? We can't have hooks on it to do what I want to do. So I've got the hooks off. These are some of the best split ring pliers, no sponsor involved. It's, I think it's Texas split ring pliers. Guys, I don't know. I've had these things 10 or 15 years. A guy gave them to me one time in a parking lot. They're awesome split ring pliers, the best. Okay, now we need to drill the holes in this bait. I need to drill an entrance hole and an exit hole. So this is a 25.5, and it's gonna be different from my 20.5 because this bait and the whole dredger line does not have as many rattles. You can do something a little bit different with this bait if you want to. I'll show you two different variances there. But so what I do is I get a drill bit, and it's super important on the size of your drill bit for your expandable foam, because, and this is important too, there's a bunch of different kinds of expandable foam, but this one has the smallest tip on it. So I don't want to drill a giant hole in the head of this crankbait. I want one with a small tip on it, and this by far has got the smallest tip. So I forgot what size. It's an 1/8 ounce drill bit. That's what you want, an 1/8, not an 1/8 ounce, an 1/8. I'm thinking fish. 1/8 ounce drill bit, 1/8 drill bit. All right, let's get this thing in the drill. Okay, a couple other things I want to visit with you about before I start drilling holes in this thing. I don't have any problem at all drilling that top hole, but like on the dredger, I try to drill it right there between those two gill plates, and I'm going to show you why, if I can find the bait that I'm looking for. So when you take, like this is a hand-colored, hand-painted bait, and I can see each chamber in there. And when you do that, I'm going to show you where to drill for the dredger. So now if you're doing it to another type of crankbait, you're going to need to figure out where to drill. But if I take my micrometer right here, I'll give you some measurements for each bait, because there's not a lot of baits that you can actually see into. I've had some specially painted that are a little more transparent so I can see in them. So like on the dredger, I am going to drill that hole. If I was to measure from the very tip to where I want to drill, what is that? It's 1 1/10 inches on this micrometer, okay? And I'm going to go straight down 1 1/10 inches. So if I was to, I'll make a little mark right there, get my drill. Oh, I don't want to do it on that one. That's my good bait. Let's see. 1 inch and an eighth, or inch and a tenth, I'm sorry, inch and a tenth. My micrometer's in tenths. That's right between those two gill plates. Make a little mark. Okay. Dead center of the bait. I want to go dead center and straight down between those gill plates because there's an actual chamber in there I'm trying to hit. You got to keep your blade from wandering, or your bit from wandering. Okay, I didn't get it quite centered, but I can see that chamber in there that I'm wanting to hit. That's not going to affect anything. So now I've got that one hole. Now I've got to bring out an exit hole. And I think it's really important, guys. I mean, I've done this a bunch, so I think it's really important that I bring that exit hole out in that back chamber. I want to bring it out in that back chamber because that locks in that back BB. So if I lay that right there from that hook hanger, and that is on top of that BB, that is 7/10 of an inch, okay? 7/10 of an inch, remember that number. This is for the 25.5. I'll give you numbers on all the baits so you don't have to take the paint off your bait. So 7/10 of an inch. I put that right here. And that's basically between the D and the R on the dredger. If you look at that, I'll give you a close-up of that. That's between the D and the R on the dredger, on this model. It's gonna be different on each depth though. Won't go in very far because I hit that lead BB in there. All right, I think it's important too that you don't let your drill bit work. Don't push too hard on it. I want to get that hole real clean. Okay, so now I got my two holes in there. Now, I get my painter's tape. Get whatever tape you want. I like this tape, you know, over like duct tape or something because it doesn't leave any residue on my bait. This is pretty important, guys. You don't want to do it without this step right here. So I tape my bait up, okay? Top to bottom, all around. This is protecting the bait from this next step. So you don't have to use a lot of this stuff right here, that acetone. The acetone is to clean up any of the residue from the foam on the bait after you take the tape off. A little tape on the sides. Now you can see we've got a taped up dredger. You can't see anything anywhere. I try to leave the bill just a little exposed because that's where this piece of wood comes in. After I do that, I'm gonna put that bait right there. I've cut a special groove in that with my skill saw so I can put my baits just like that. That's an important step because I need that foam to dry with that bait in the perfect diving depth. Okay, so now I gotta find my holes because I just taped over them, so I'm gonna just kind of poke around with my drill bit and maybe my pliers till I find that hole. There it is. There it is. I'm gonna clean it out with the drill bit. Okay. Now, remember, important, they've got other kinds of this stuff. Get this one. Oh, and it's super important too, guys. You gotta shake it up. This can says, I think, shake it up for like 90 seconds or something. So I'm gonna shake it up. You guys gotta do that because it's pretty important. It's a brand new can. All right. I probably should have shook it up some more, but I didn't. Okay, something else super important. This is where the gloves come in. Guys, I still have this stuff on my fingers from a week ago at Chickamauga. So if you just put some rubber gloves on, I'm telling you, it is like so much easier because that stuff does not come off your hands. I mean, it just stays on there forever. So now I am going to make a mess. I got this towel right here. I'm gonna put one more towel just somewhere over to here. Just so, because it's gonna make a mess. All right. So I take that bait, I hold it perfectly level, like this right here. Super simple. I stick that and I push against it real hard. Oops, I missed it. So now you can see it's coming out. It came out the back hole. And that's gonna just continue to puff out. I kind of tap the bill a couple times. I'm gonna do it one more. Oh, I missed. I like to make sure it really comes out that back hole. I'm having a hard time to get this one in. Yeah, I got it coming out that back hole. Got a little too much tape around my hole. Okay. All the while holding this bait like it needs to be. Then I'm gonna stick that bait right there in my cut piece of wood, if you got a vise, whatever it is. But I like to have that bait just like this. I don't want it tilted over this way or tilted over this way. And that's important. Okay, so basically, that bait is done. You have to wait all night, 8 hours cure time, because what happens is that stuff continues to come out. Like you may think it's done in an hour or two, and you go to try to seal that hole up, it still comes out. That stuff expands forever, but that's what you want. I want it to fill all those chambers up. All right, so let's do another bait here. Let's just do a 14.5. This might be a good bait when I get up to Champlain or something. You get the hooks off. So now a 14.5, the measurements on that, you can see the 14.5 has got a lot of chambers in it too. It's got one in the front, one at the top, two in the back, and then one all the way in the front. So when I go to measure that 14.5, I cut, the top hole's not quite as important, but I still like to get right over that one chamber. The top hole is going to be 7/10. The bottom hole to get in that chamber is also going to be 7/10. Okay? 7/10 and 7/10. So I'm going to set that right there. You can get you a Sharpie also if you wanted to. Just made a mark. And the bottom is right between the E and the R on a 14.5, just so you know. The E and the R on dredger. Oh, I meant the E and the D. Perfect. Top hole. I made a mark right there. Okay. Tape this puppy up because that stuff will get all over it. All right, get her covered up with tape. No stuff getting on this bait. Find my holes. There's one, and there's one. I like to clean those out a little bit, especially that top one. Okay, again, I've got this bait straight like this. I don't have it tilted either way. I want it straight. Kind of tap on it. Yeah, just run another towel. Okay, here we go. That one worked really good. I had a lot of it come out the back. You can see it's going to kind of get on my bait a little bit, but that's why we got the acetone to clean it off. Okay, that one worked good. I had it go all the way through. Tap it one time just to make sure those balls are right in the middle. Set it in your groove and let that thing dry. Okay, so the only other thing I need to show you then is a 17.5. Let's just show you the 17.5 measurements. I'm not going to do the bait, but I'll show you the 17.5 measurements. The top hole is 8/10. The bottom hole is 7/10. So on a 17.5 that still has the numbers, the new 17.5, it's right in front of the D, but that's a new 17.5, the new special colors. Let me see, that's a 17, that's a 20. So remember 7/10 and 8/10 on the 17.5. Okay, now last, the 20.5. Now what's different on the 20.5, this bait's been done, is this bait's been done, it doesn't have as many rattles in it. So it's a little bit quieter of a bait to begin with. So you see this is a stock 25, this is a stock 17.5. You guys, there's a big difference. So one other way you can do this, possibly even on the boat, if you're trying to make an adjustment out on the water, is you'd have to have a drill though, is to take your drill, and I even go a smaller drill bit when I go to do this. So I'm gonna go down to a 5/64 drill bit, and I am going to drill that hole on a 20.5. Let me get my micrometer. The front hole is going to be 3/10 in front of the hook hanger, okay, 3/10. The back hole is going to be, you can do it too at 3/10 perfectly, 3/10. 3/10 front, 3/10 back. Now, if you wanted to make your bait a little bit different and make it kind of a one knocker, only do one of these. Like this one here is a one knocker. Just real quiet. I don't know if you can hear that, but I only glued one of those holes. So now you ask, why don't you glue all the others? Well, because they have so much weight to them. I don't want to drill this one. Let's drill this one. They have so much weight to them, they'll sink if you add super glue. I mean, they just will, guys. Trust me, I've tried this. I have worked on this a bunch. There's one hole. 5/64 drill bit, don't forget that. There is the other hole. Okay, so when I drill those exactly at 3/10, I hit that BB every time, dead center, and that's important, okay? So now you take this thing and you get your super glue for the super quick method. This super glue right here, I've got Ultra Gel Control. It's the black. It's the best one. Get you some of this out. Then you take your bait, and I just put a drop or two of it right. I mean, I don't try to fill it. I just put like 2 seconds of squeeze, okay? And then I take my bait, I hit it down, and then I put it in perfect, because you know that super glue is going to dry a lot quicker. I've got that bait perfectly up and down, and I just put 2 seconds worth of squeeze in both those holes. Okay, so I've got super glue holding that ball right there. You can go 3 seconds. The 20.5 has a little bit more of a chamber, a little bit more buoyancy to it, so you can put a little bit more in there. But if I went and let's say tried to super glue the 17 or the 25 or the 14, with it having 4 different chambers in it, no, actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chambers, it'll sink the bait. It's way too much weight in super glue to sink it. So, and then you ask, well, why don't you just do 2 chambers? Well, the 2 bottom chambers on each side of the hook holder, those are the quietest 2. The front chamber and the top chamber are the loudest. So really, the only way to make these more silent is to go this foam route. Yeah, so that's how you do that. Now, if you want to do the 20.5 with foam, same thing. Just drill a hole in the top, drill a hole in the bottom, it'll go right through there. Super simple, just as you did the other ways. So now we got to take it to the next step. That bait is still not silent. When you take a bait and you make it silent, the hook hangers right here still rattle like you would not believe. If you don't believe me, have your kid throw one of these over your head in the swimming pool. They make a lot of noise. So you can go and make your split rings out of braid. Couple advantages. It makes your bait super silent, but it also keeps a fish from ever getting any leverage on that bait, because it'll twist 547 different ways before it does anything to that bait. So let me show you how to make braid split rings. So first I need to take, obviously, the hooks off. Then you've got to have the split ring off the hook. So let me get that done. For this split ring, I like a 3/32 size drill bit. I don't like a big, I don't like using anything bigger than that, because if you use anything bigger than that, then your hooks will get caught together. So I like to make a very, you know, it's a small split ring. And I use braid right here. If I just got Bass Pro 50-pound braid, I double my line. I go through my bait. Let's do the back one first. Go through my hook. Then I've got this loop right here. I'm just bending this over. I put my fingers in that hole and then I pull this down. Thus, it makes another loop right there. Then I put these two tag ends through that loop. Okay, I'm just gonna kind of pull it down on my finger, pull that off. Now, insert my drill bit right there, whatever you're gonna use that's round. And right here, I pull that thing as tight as I can pull it. Then, right here, I just take each end, tie a square knot. I tie one way, and I mean pull it tight, guys. Super important, pull it tight. Now tie one going the other way. Again, pull that thing super duper tight. Then I don't know that you have to do this. It makes me feel better. I pull my drill bit out first. Kind of hard to pull out because I've pulled it so tight. I put a drop of super glue right there on that knot, just a little drop. Then I take my tags, I cut them off. It doesn't, I don't get right up next to it. It's not like it's adding weight or anything like that. And bam, I have got a braid split ring now where that fish can get no leverage on it and he can't throw that bait and it's silent. One thing to keep in mind when you do that front hook, make sure you do that where it is straddling the belly. You know, we've talked about that in our videos before. I'm gonna show you guys one more time. I'm gonna go through here. So I put that hook up there. I want it to lay like that. So just be sure when you go to do this, make sure your hook's gonna straddle the belly. You don't want the one barb poking your bait's belly. You want it to straddle the belly. Come around. I kind of tighten it down on my finger a little bit to get it started. Put my drill bit in there. It helps if you stick your tongue out. I don't know why. Pull it super tight. Make you back-to-back square knots. Again, super tight. I'm gonna go the other way. Super, super tight. Put me a drop of super glue. Pull my drill bit out. Come on, baby, get out of there. Okay. There we go. Now I've got two perfectly. Let me cut my tags off. Now you can pull on those all you want, guys. They are not breaking, they are not coming off. I mean, they are stout. Now this bait's obviously not gonna be silent because I haven't silenced the inside, but those hook hangers right there are not gonna make any noise. I just think it's a really cool aspect in hooking fish, not losing fish, if you take the time to put those braid split rings on there. So now that I showed you the split rings, my super glue bait should be dry. Right here, you know, if I take that bait and I hold all the, doesn't make a sound. Doesn't make a sound. It's just been a couple minutes and it's already dry. You can't do that on those other baits with all those rattles though. It'll make that bait sink, trust me on that. So now, when these are dry, tomorrow morning, what you need to do, get you a knife, get you a razor blade, cut that off. And then you've got to seal that hole. So you're gonna have a hole like that in the top of your bait. Is it sealed probably without putting a drop of super glue on it? Yes, but it never hurts just to put a little bit of super glue. I just kind of rub it around there and seal it. Same thing right here on the bottom. Just put a little bit of super glue on that thing to help seal that bait up, and it'll ever keep that foam from soaking water into it. I can throw that, you can see I've thrown that bait miles. See how the paint's wore off of it. You know, it floats just like it does out of the package. It's not any higher, it doesn't give it buoyancy, it doesn't make it sink. it just makes it completely silent, which I think is really, really cool. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Do me a favor, man, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next week. Appreciate you following along.